I've been following your career since Ugly Betty, very big fan. So first of all, congratulations. How do you feel on being part of this amazing ensemble cast?
I feel like, pinch me. I feel like I'm the luckiest girl. It was sort of like so exciting to get this role to work for Apple because, it's like a very sort of prestigious streaming service. And then to get to work with Kerry and Elizabeth and Kate and all of these amazing women. It was just like, oh, wow, a dream.
Don't blame me. What I like about your career is that your characters are powerful women. We can see them from Marisol in Divi's Maids, Isabel Love Victor, and of course Hilda and Oliveri. And that's what I like about Detective Bethany Gantz is that she could be anyone. And especially the way that you're Latina, but Puerto Riqueña, una Boricua, being part of. So how do you feel and how was getting this part? Because it's the amazing part.
I was so excited. I remember auditioning for it. Judy Reyes, who's one of my dear friends, I was like, I have this audition, you have to help me with it. And so I went to her house and she and her husband put me on tape for it. And we were just having so much fun. And she was just like, girl, just be you, be your fierce self. And so then when I found out that Judy's now like my good luck charm. And so but I got the part and it was just really, so exciting because I get to work with Kerry and Carrie is like she's a homegirl. She's from the Bronx. She's so cool. And she really wants to like collaborate with you. When you're on set, when you're in a scene, she really wants to like have fun and really, really dig in. So it just was a dream come true for me. And like I would do it again and again and again.
No, I don't blame you because it's such an amazing show that gets you from the first episode. And watching the whole show is amazing. So that's is great. Also, want to ask you because since Ugly Betty for me is a before and after as a Latino, as Puerto Riqueño, seeing representation on screen. I also seeing your relationship with Mark, also his the podcast and everything. So how do you feel being on the other side of being able to see how people gravitate towards these characters and also Ugly Betty and all your career? So what can you tell me about the birth of this podcast with Mark? How do you see the Ugly Betty scene and how big it is for the Latino communities having this show?
I mean, Ugly Betty changed all of our lives in so many different ways. And we're still all so close. Because on this podcast, every single person has come onto the podcast. We've had America, we've had Vanessa, we've had Michael and Becky, and the whole Tony Plana, like everybody has come through. And because it was such an important show, and especially at the time, and even more so now, which is why I think the podcast has done so well. I think what we're really trying to do, if I'm honest, is we really want to get a reboot happening. We
Ooh.
really want to get people, back, remembering how good it was so that we can sort of bring all those characters back because it did change television. You know what I mean? And this was one of the shows that was by us for us. Selma Hayek
Mhm.
was producing it. Pepe was a producer. We had Latinos behind the scenes. Silvia Horta was the showrunner and the writer. We had Dalen Rodriguez. We employed behind the camera a lot of Latinos from all walks of life. So, that is what I think needs to happen nowadays. And, Betty was what, 20 plus years ago, and we still are in the same spot. You know what I mean? It's like there's still not, that was then. Hardly has been much more, right? We had Devious Maze, we had One Day at a Time, but that's kind of it in mainstream
Yeah.
television for us. And so I'm really excited to hopefully get Betty rebooted and also just to get more Latin programming into like mainstream television, mainstream streaming and all that stuff. So
Yeah, it's such an amazing show. Also, we're seeing more in Puerto Rico. Our movie industry has been growing. Rosalía Sánchez recently did a movie. She's a director, also a writer. She did Diario Mujer.
Yeah.
Uh, it's an amazing movie. And we're seeing more women behind the scenes. Have you ever considered yourself, since you have such a great experience working with as an actor, have there ever been like that bug eating you that say, maybe I would like to be a director or doing something in that way?
That's such a good question. I s- I see myself as more of like a creator and a producer. I think if I was going to direct, I might want to direct theater. Like so the way I started, I have a Labyrinth. I'm a member of a Labyrinth theater company in New York with John Ortiz and Liza Colon Sayas and David Sayas, and that to me, like going back there and maybe directing a theater piece would be really interesting to me. I don't know if I could direct a film, but maybe, look, I'll never say never. But for me right now, I'm really interested in developing shows and producing shows. I really want there to be more content by us and for us. I really want to see us represented, you know, with shows and films. It's like what Roz is doing. You know,
Yeah.
she's like a one man band. She does it all, and she's so amazing. I just want to like follow her little by little.
Yeah, she's amazing. Also, we're seeing, like you said, a lot of young women, especially Latinas, are taking going behind the scenes, being directors, being producers. And that's what I also like about the Imperfect Woman is the way that more women are behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, what like Annie Weissman, she's an amazing woman. She has produced so many. I also being a showrunner.
Yeah.
What have you learned through this process of picking your roles? Because also, like I said before, strong women follow you, and that's something that most people know you for. So, what you are grateful for that?
I feel so lucky. I mean, honestly, you know, when you're starting out, you just want to work. So, you know, and I fought for the part in Ugly Betty, and that sort of opened so many doors for me. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, I can pick and I can choose," but I was really lucky to have that Betty sort of like opening the doors for me, and also opening the doors for so many, you know, projects like that, you know. But I think you know, I want to again, I've been so lucky when they came to me with Love Victor, it was just like, "Oh, of course," because she's the opposite of Hilda, right? Like,
Yeah.
but she's very religious and she doesn't want her son to be gay, whereas Hilda was like, "We know you're gay and it's okay." You know? So I loved being able to play, you know, two types of very strong Latinas, right? Because they're both of these women exist and very much
Yeah.
so. Even within my own family, if I'm honest, you know. And then I got to play, you know, in Devious Maids, I got to play this very sort of sophisticated character who was an author, and you know, and so I just feel like I have been blessed because I didn't those roles came to me, and I think now for whatever reason it's not happening as much, right? I don't think you're seeing as many Latinas being leading a show for I don't know why. It's been, well, I kind of do know why, but that's another conversation for another side. But I think, you know, now the tide is turning back, and I think the more of us, the more Evas there are, Eva Longoria, the more America, Roxanne, and all the girls from Devious, Judy and Dania, and all of us, you know, Justina Machado. Oh my God, what an amazing powerhouse of an actor and an advocate. So we're getting out there. We're gonna start, you know, and I think the older ones of us, right? We're sort of this Gen X generation. We're ready to like take up the mantle and go behind the scenes and start making noise.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Anna, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Just to remind everybody, Imperfect Woman is available on Apple TV. Go ahead, watch it, share it on your social media, hashtag Imperfect Woman. Go ahead and look for Anna on Instagram. Her account is amazing. And go follow her on her podcast. So Anna, thank you so much. Un abrazo de Puerto Rico. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.